Ian McEwan, welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
One of the themes of your new book is mothers and their psychological impact on their children. I couldn't help reflecting that Britons have effectively just lost their mother with the death of the Queen. Historian Simon Sharma says the nation has been orphaned. Does that idea resonate with you?
I think it's a time now for a great deal of sort of backward reflection because, well, in my own case, I've had sitting on my shelf a coronation mug I was given at the age of 5, and it is the oldest object in my possession. So I think it rather does what I was doing in this novel, prompts the whole nation to sort of take a long backward look. Mm. She has provided the equivalent of a sort of soundtrack to our lives, and I think that's what people hold dear.
Turning to your new book, Lessons, what are the lessons of the title?
Well, one is that it is very difficult at the end of one's life to derive lessons that are not simply banalities. You ask someone very old what lessons they've learned, they'll tell you that love is important, that kindness is, and that you should make your own decisions, etc., etc. It doesn't help. It's just like a lot of advice in life. It's often completely useless. One of the lessons I think the reader might make through the novel is something about the way we do look backwards through our own lives and how we write and rewrite that narrative. It's always up for revision. It's never a fixed story. What our childhood was, what our parents were. The story is never finished.
The pivotal event of the book is the sexual abuse of a young schoolboy, Roland, by his female piano teacher. Could you have written this if the gender roles were reversed, if Roland were a young girl and the teacher were male?
I could have done that. I've written many female characters, but I really wanted to get inside Roland. And in the novel there is plenty of discussion, indeed, about the fact that most sexual abuse is male on female. But I think for all victims of sexual abuse, there is many points in common. So rather than appropriate a woman, I'm sure I get accused of that now and then, and I think it's all nonsense. I think the novel is really a vehicle of mental freedom. It depends on inhabiting the minds of others, not just your own mind. But I've wanted to get inside Roland in ways that were, in some ways, close to my own experience, not of sexual abuse, but of just the struggle through life, and the opportunities of life.
The piano teacher, Miriam, casts, to use your phrase, a long shadow over Roland's life. He goes to confront her decades later in an extraordinarily vivid scene. How did you write that scene?
I was well aware that I was going to write this scene maybe in a year's time. It comes later on in the novel. And I made an absolute decision to take no notes about it. I shied away from thinking about it, because when Roland, in a very nervous state, rings the bell of her house, I wanted to be ringing that bell too. I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought the only way I can write this scene is to completely inhabit him and go into the house with him and just, feel it, see it, hear it, speak it. He gets the shakes in his knee, something I've noticed in myself. There are times when the body cannot lie.
You said before that accusing a writer of appropriation for writing outside of their experience is nonsense. That's the word that you used. Is the reading public making a mistake by trying to put limits on the characters and voices a writer can use?
I think we have a crisis of freedom of expression around the world. There are many countries where writers are persecuted, their voices are suppressed, and it's becoming a serious matter. It's a shrinking asset, freedom of expression. And for that reason, in those countries like yours, like mine, where writers can write freely, it's very important to defend the abilities of all writers, journalists, novelists, poets, whatever, as well as all citizens, to take their minds judiciously wherever they think they must. And it's always been central to the novel to have the freedom to imagine what it's like to be not yourself. In fact, imagining being not ourselves is one of the foundation coping stones, really, rather than foundation stones of our moral sympathies. It's very hard to be cruel to someone when you can imagine what it's like to be them. So what novelists do is take that and extend it and fashion it and organize it into experiences. It's very, very important that we don't simply write about ourselves. We need to be able to write about children, about older people, younger people. We should write across genders. We could imagine what it's like to be a dragon or a dog or a pussycat. Doesn't matter. We have to be free. All that matters is how you do it.
Is that judgment a permanent condition now, do you think, or are we just in an evolution?
I think there's some fuss about it from certain quarters. I don't think it's really the reading public who are up in arms about this. I think we're in a transitional moment in which we've had a lot of intense debate here about gender, and trans activists have been making a very powerful case about certain things. And I think it's a passage of turmoil. And we'll get through it. We'll come to some steady accommodation on it. I don't think it's going to deflect novelists. I don't notice a great deal of shrinking of ambition in published novels, although I did hear a male novelist last year say on the radio that he found it awfully difficult now to write about male desire. Well, I just thought, poor kid, you've got to do it because it's part of the human bag of experience. It's simply got to be done, as is female desire, as is the desire of dogs and cats and dragons. So, get over it, get on with it, but do it well, do it sympathetically.
Just before
with truth.
Before I let you go, Ian McEwan, talking about actual violence, your friend Salman Rushdie, have you spoken to him since the attack, and how is he?
I understand that he's been extremely ill. It was a very, very savage assault. His wife Eliza is with him all the time. I don't know the details of his medical progress. I haven't had direct contact with him, but I've had some indirect contact with him. And he's going to be back, and he's going to be back with us. He's strong, he's a very courageous man. He's got lots to say, and I'm sure we're going to hear from him again.
Congratulations on another extraordinary book and for taking some time to talk to us about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Bye-bye.